been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll.
It is beautiful. So congratulations to all the residents. And I want to start out by thanking my colleague, Representative Robin Gable, for being a full supporter for the cause that we are here to announce today, and for Representative Gable for welcoming us here, even though she's away and couldn't be here today. I'm State Representative LaShawn, and I'm very happy to be in Evanston to talk about history, a perfect account of American history. And so with that, I'll bring forth a leader that's been in Springfield, knocking on office doors and banging down members all over the Capitol and making sure that they understand why we have to get it right. And you know what I mean as we go on, what we need to get right. I'm so grateful to have a relationship with Ms. Gardner, because she's doing a fantastic job, and I don't think that we would be this far with getting a perfect account of American history without her. So without further ado, Meleika Gardner, she's going to facilitate and take it from here, so listen to her.
Thank you, Representative Ford, and I have to definitely give it back to Representative Ford, because when I called him, I joined this group called We Will. You see our banner here. We are women who help other women and children get involved in legislation. And one of the first things that the founder of We Will had asked me, she said, "What do you want to do coming aboard the board?" And I said, "I want to help my community, the Black community." And I told her I'm having a serious
system of institutionalized racism. I urge and challenge our leaders in Springfield to support this bill, not just for the Black community, but because it's right, long overdue, and America needs it. In closing, Evanston 65, we support Senate Bill HB4954. Thank you.
Okay, the next gentleman I'm going to bring up is Reverend Dr. Michael Neighbors. He is the president of the NAACP North Shore, and he's also pastor of my church, Second Baptist.
Thank you so much, Meleika, and to Representative Ford and all of my colleagues who are here with me today. This is a critical moment. It is a moment that is long overdue. It's almost embarrassing and humiliating that in 2020, we are proposing a bill for the state of Illinois to teach the importance of Black history and African history to our young people. I think that it is critical that we have heard from Dr. Horton, who is our new superintendent of District 65. We're grateful that he is coming in with energy, he's coming in with passion, and he's also coming in with a passion that is dedicated toward making sure that full education is going to be presented to all of the children in our district. I want to state that we are in support of this amazing bill on behalf of the Evanston North Shore National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and also the nearly 1,000 members of Second Baptist Church, which is just around the corner. I want to state that history is our greatest teacher, and to be denied an opportunity to know about the reality of your history is to be denied an opportunity for you to flourish and grow and to reach the heights that you were intended to reach. It is a shame that for me, at my age, I am just learning more and more about my own personal history, not history that goes all the way back to Ramses II, who was the greatest pharaoh who ever lived, who was a Black man, but my own history here in the topography of these United States of America. To know your own history is to also know that you have a power within that the world didn't give, and therefore the world cannot take it away. I think about my own history, my brother who served in Desert Storm, another brother and two brothers-in-law who served in the Vietnam War. I have another uncle and another older brother that served in the Korean War. I have two uncles who served in World War II. I have another great-grandfather who served in the Spanish-American War, two great-grandfathers who served in the Civil War, and I have a great-great-great-great-grandfather who served in the Revolutionary War. You cannot tell me that those people who are protesting in the streets today are not protesting for their own country, for their own belief that they are inevitably a part of this nation, what it was, what it will be, and what it is now. So we are here today to say that we are here, and we are here to stay, and we are here to make our story known. To do that, in my estimation, is to be supportive of this bill. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your presence.
Okay, our next speaker is Dr. Gilo Kwesi Logan. He's a diversity consultant. He consults people all over the world. Thank you so much, Dr. Logan.
Greetings, everyone. It's an honor to be here and to echo the sentiments of Dr. Neighbors. Myself, as a fifth-generation Evanstonian, it took me traveling around the world to 23 different countries through the South Pacific, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and West Africa to figure out who I was as a black man in America, and that's a shame. That's a shame. I have a master's in elementary education. I have a doctorate in adult education. I've taught elementary school, middle school, I've taught high school, and currently I teach at a university. And every single level, I've had students, black students in particular, who had no idea who we are as a people. I've had white students, Latinx students, Asian students who had no idea who we are as black people. And what I like to say is, Carter G. Woodson, almost 100 years ago, talked about the miseducation of the Negro. I would like to say that does not only impact the Negro or the black person or African Americans, that impacts us all. This is the miseducation of white people. This is the miseducation of Asian people, Latinx people, Middle Eastern people. We have all been miseducated by this system that we are living in. So this bill needs to be passed for the benefit of everyone. This is not just for black children. This is for everyone, right? We need a systemic change, and I just want to also say that this came about prior to the lynching of George Floyd. So this is not a reaction to that. Let's be very clear on that. This has been happening in progress for a long time. Okay, so we really need to take this opportunity to be a part of this change that we need to make in our society. And then in closing, I'm going to close with a quote from Carter G. Woodson. And this is from his self-entitled book, The Miseducation of the Negro. And he says, I quote, "The same educational process which inspires and stimulates the oppressor with the thought that he is everything and has accomplished everything is the same system that oppresses and crushes the genius of the Negro by making him feel that his race does not amount to much more and never will measure up to the standards of other people." W.E.B. Du Bois talked about the dilemma of the double consciousness. We are seeing ourselves through the eyes of other people. Please embrace this opportunity for us all to see us all for who we are. And this bill, the target is for African Americans, but this is a benefit for everyone. Thank you.
Is Alderman Robin Rose Simmons? Yes, she is. Okay, the next speaker I'm going to bring up is Alderman Robin Rose Simmons. This woman is, everyone behind me is powerful in moving things and making things happen. This woman is pioneering the Evanston reparations. We thought reparations was a pie in the sky dream, and she's made it a reality. It's a possibility. So without further ado, Alderwoman Robin Ruth Simmons of Evanston.
Thank you, Meleika, for your commitment to this and your leadership. Thank you, Rep. Ford, for being here and being the bold leader that you are and making the introduction. I really was here in support. I didn't have any plans to speak, but I'm happy to. As Meleika mentioned, in Evanston, we're working towards reparations. We have a commitment to that here. We have identified a funding stream, and we are moving forward. And I should say that as we take community feedback on what repair looks like in Evanston, it is oftentimes education that is a key piece to what repair looks like in Evanston. So thank you. Imagine if when we were on the playground as little kids, we were playing with the knowledge that our foremothers and forefathers, our ancestors, were royal kings and queens in a rich land. Imagine that, instead of the perspective that we've seen as our African ancestors being enslaved here in America and what we've seen through the civil rights era. Imagine if we knew ourselves, if we knew our history. And I'm hopeful that this bill passes. I think now is the time. Our state, our nation, our cities have been awakened to the terror and the oppression and the discrimination that we all know is here, and the unfortunate recent events have highlighted it. I believe now is the time. I am in strong support. I am here to support you in any way possible, whether it is in marching or in protest, or whether it is in sharing and advocacy. So thank you again. This is valued. The people of Evanston have spoken, so you know that you have strong support from Evanstonians that have spoken about equality and full truth in education, especially as we uplift and prepare our youth to be the leaders of this nation. So thank you all of you leaders, and thank you all of you advocates. Thank you for the unity that we've had here in our cities. Thank you for the allied communities that have used your voice so that as Black people, we're not standing here alone. Thank you, and all the best. I'm here in full support.
Okay, our next speaker she's just been appointed president of the We Will organization. This is Erica Walker, and she's also a diversity consultant.
Good afternoon. It warms my heart to be at a place where this bill is moving forward. And I have to say thank you to Representative LaShawn Ford for all of the support he's been giving us. And I want to talk about another bill that is related, which is HB4954, which is diversity training for all electeds. And so I use Representative Ford as an example of what we could do in our state if all elected officials had to take part in a diversity and inclusion training class. It's pretty challenging to represent and make the best decisions for all people in your community if you're only familiar with some people in the community. So HB4454 is a bill that is going to require that all elected officials at all levels participate in this training so that they become more culturally competent and aware of the issues that exist throughout the community. So, of course, I support this bill on education expansion, and thank you all for your support as well.
Okay, and our next speaker I had the opportunity of meeting in Springfield when we went to the hearing before House Committee back on March 4th. And he's been very, very supportive, and the man takes action as well. And that is Reverend Reven Fellows.
Thank you. I stand humble before this great panel here, Mr. Bennett Johnson and Karon Rummy, who's been my mentor in history. And I also represent the African American Heritage Museum and Black Veteran Archive, founded by Reverend Dr. Charles Smith, who's been in Aurora, has two museums, one in New Orleans and one in Aurora. recognizing the veterans who fought and died in Vietnam, and also a former board member to the 8th Philip Randolph First Black Labor Museum. And I stand in support of this bill, and We Will Coalition with State Rep Ford, who's been a champion. When you mentioned diversity, he is also responsible for the bill that signed into law to hire the African American Employment Plan, that the law to state government, there's a law to have black people in state government. He's complimentary to that. And I just stand here with a host of humbleness of the spirit, in the spirit of my good friend. His name is Sam Kohler, better known as Mellow Sam. And he is the author of the legislation that was given to Senator Bill Williams Shaw, who laid down the framework. And I'm sure my other colleagues will lay the history down, but I want to give honor to him who laid down and felt that our black children need to be taught their histories in the school and classroom. And so I'm honored to be here to support this bill and legislation and the work we're doing, and thank everyone from Evanston for allowing me to be here to talk about our culture and our history. And as Maya Angelou would say, COVID-19, and still we rise.
And our next speaker is Moan Rami.
It's a pleasure to be here. First of all, my name is Clamone. It's Clamone Rami. I'm a historian as well as an international filmmaker. And I want to, first of all, thank Representative Ford for being here. You know, the term honorable is used quite a bit, but in your case, it applies. And we just hope that you will continue to do the fight that you're doing, because it is extremely important for us to make sure that there's a continuity, that there's a consistent movement that keeps us pushing forward. So, I grew up in Stateway Gardner, which is also in Bronzeville, for those of you that don't, or was in Bronzeville. And I was plucked out of Stateway Gardner while playing basketball. One of my colleagues earlier talked about wishing as a child that they had some information about black history. Well, I was very fortunate. My mother went to DuSable High School. My grammar school was Crispus Attucks. My high school was Wendell Phillips, an abolitionist. When I was playing basketball, every time we would try to play, there was a guy that would drive up on us. He would do a drive-by, but it was a historic drive-by. His name was Hammurabi Rob, and he was a historian and embedded in me the need to continue to tell our stories in a way that would uplift our people. He was the person that took me to the DuSable Museum when I was 12 to meet Margaret Burroughs. So by 1968, when I was attending Wendell Phillips, I had the opportunity to be one of the architects of the citywide boycotts that moved 35,000 young people to walk out to push for a number of items that were articulated in the manifesto that we wrote during that time. And I want to read a couple of the things from the manifesto. This was in October of 1968. We wanted complete courses in black history, inclusion in all courses, the contributions of black people, black administrators in the school, more technical training, more black teachers, more black businesses, because at that time, no black businesses were afforded the opportunity to do anything in the school, whether it was from making yearbooks, to selling class rings, to doing sweaters. So that was the fight that we were doing then. And also looking to do military training and proper eating and nutrition, because it was a major issue during that period of time. So the Amistad Commission was formed and established in legislation in 2005 in collaboration with the Amistad in New Jersey, in Portland, and in New York, designed to include African American curriculum in the schools in the state, as well as in the city of Chicago. In March of 2013, the committee that Reuben alluded to came together with Dr. Barbara Byrd Bennett and informed her of the legislation, of which she was unaware. So she tasked us, at that point I was the Director of Education at the DuSable Museum of African American History. She tasked us with the force of developing a curriculum and to work with CPS as well. So we did. We developed 250 lessons that are currently on the network training curriculum program for CPS, as well as a series of 17 lessons that were done for the state. And I'm gonna bend down for a minute. So this is the curriculum that was developed for the State Board of Education, and it's available for people to use. The challenge has always been, how do you get the teachers to use it? In 2014, we had a training program that we put together for teachers, network chiefs, and principals about how to utilize the curriculum and how to make sure that it was in all of the schools around the city of Chicago as well. So the material is there. What we need more than anything is this new bill to be passed, and for there to be a movement of people to continue the good fight. When you look at the young people and what they're doing today, they are a direct correlation and direct connection to the struggle that our people have had since the 1600s. But when you look at them, you can see the vibrance in their eyes, you can see the energy in their strides, and their desire to move forward. So we want to make sure that once they stop marching, that they get behind their elected officials and hold them to task, hold them accountable and responsible, to make sure that they do what they say they're going to do, and make sure that we improve the quality of life. I'm going to follow in some of my colleagues' steps with a quote by Maya Angelou. Maya said, "Want to be wonderful when Black history and Native American history and Jewish history are all of U.S. history is taught from one book and just called U.S. history." That is extremely important, but you can't half-tell the tale. Some of it is painful, some of it is resilient, and we have to tell it all. So thank you all for having me here, and we will continue to lend our assistance to make sure that this bill is passed and that African and African American history is taught to all children throughout the world. Thank you very much.
I want to thank all the speakers. I'm about to bring up the man who has really been fighting for this bill to pass. And again, I thank him for allowing me to add the amendment to it and allow me to fight alongside him. We attended the House Committee back on March 4th, and that's the first hearing I've ever attended in my life in Springfield. And it was a fight. We won 14 votes in favor, 7 opposing, but let me tell you, those 7 opposing were very, very bold. It was just as bold as Derek Chauvin putting the knee on George Floyd's neck. They were very clear in how they felt about this bill. So much as to say on record that if we do it for the Black community, then we have to do it for the Puerto Ricans and everybody. That was said on record. No shame. No shame. So I was so impressed with Representative Ford because he went to battle in that room, and I learned so much from this man. And our mission is to take the textbooks out of Texas. End it now. Take the textbooks out of Texas. And we have amazing people just standing behind us. I'm putting a coalition of educators together now. Dr. Gilo Logan is helping us to put a curriculum together. We have a whole team. It can be done. It can be done. So without further ado, the man who created the bill, HB4954, Representative LaShawn Ford.
Thank you, Meleika. I think we're ready. You're a great leader. Alderman, I'm so happy to meet you. I've read about you and I've seen your work in the paper and on Facebook everywhere, and Evanston is so lucky to have you as a representative. And I'm so happy that they have you also at leading the, you could say your name so I can say it. Dr. Devon Horton. They're so lucky to have you being bold, and I want to congratulate Evanston for electing such fine leaders. And thank you all for speaking so well and helping push this agenda forward. When we were in committee, I told the members of the committee that I passed a lot of bills, but believe it or not, getting American history could be the most important bill that we could pass in Illinois. Taxpayers pay a lot of money to go to college. Taxpayers pay a lot of money for property taxes to send their kids to elementary, junior high, high school, and for their tax dollars to be used to miseducate people is a crime. And it might sound extreme, but it's true. How many people really want to go pay for something and they're not paying for what they should be getting? It's not right. And so I agree with Meleika Gardner about taking the textbooks out of Texas and write our own textbooks right here in Illinois so that we could get it right. I also agree that we have to make sure that every person in this nation has a complete count in our history books. One of the reasons why we have to celebrate Black History Month is because this nation knows that we're not teaching Black history. And so if we just teach Black history, not as a pullout, but in every chapter of the book, then we're doing a good job. And we don't have to worry about teaching Black history 1 month out of the year. Recently, we've seen a snapshot of what Black history and American history is in America and in Illinois. The president said, nobody knew about Juneteenth until I told them. Well, he's probably right, because history books have failed the American people and the people in Illinois, and people don't know because the history is not in the books. And so the President of the United States has went on record and told us that our history books are inaccurate, therefore he said something right, even though he didn't know it. And then we look at what's happening as we walk in our neighborhoods, at the parks, and the signs, the street signs, and the building names, and the monuments. When you look at that, that's a small replica of our history books. We need to see a complete account of people on monuments in this nation, but we don't. We see a small amount. And the small amount that we see is an exact replica of our history books. Street signs and names, buildings, school names, and even the parks and the public spaces are majority named after many people, but not many Black people. And so when we walk and we go to parks and we go to public spaces, there's only one history being told. And so that's why we see the destruction that we see of monuments, because it's not a complete history. Yes, it is our history, but it doesn't tell the complete story. And what does that do for young Black boys and young Black girls? It takes away their pride. It makes them think that they're inferior. And what does that do for young white boys and young white girls? It gives them the sense of privilege. And that's not right. And so we're going to fight to make sure that we pass this bill so that the people in Illinois get their money's worth and that they're not miseducated. Who wants to continue to pay for something that's not right? And so I urge my colleagues in Springfield, I urge the governor to push to make sure that we have a perfect account of American history in every chapter of every book in the state of Illinois. Thank you, Meleika, and thank all the people for being here. We're on the right track, and we're going to move history forward, and everyone's going to be educated about all of our history the right way.
Covering the story, we have to get the word out. Thank you very much. And we are open for questions. If anyone has any questions, anyone up here can answer. It's pretty clear, isn't it? What needs to happen. Is there a question? Shouldn't be any. Shouldn't be any question. But I will tell you this, please get in touch with your House representative. Everybody watching, whatever news station you're watching right now, get in touch with your House representative and tell them how you feel about HB HB4954. Put the pressure on them. Let them know this is important, and they need to be on the right side of history. They need to be on the right side of history. I think I saw a question.
That was my question. What can people do?
Okay, yes, that is the action everyone can take. Everybody here today and everybody at home.
You got a question for Representative Ford? So since this was passed in March through committee, what messages have you gotten from Speaker Madigan or the Democratic leadership about why they've not called a vote on this bill or this amendment on HB 4954 yet? Why has it not been called?
Yeah, we left due to COVID, but I have to tell you, when we passed it out of committee, it was passed with some promises that we would work to make it better, and we agreed to make it better. And the sense at that time was still we were so far away that people still didn't feel that we needed to pass a bill like this. But since George Floyd, since we've had the unrest in the neighborhoods, I've gotten calls from my white colleagues that told us during committee that they were not informed, that now they believe more than ever that we need to pass a bill like this. So that's a big move, and I have to say, we've been fighting for getting Black history taught in schools, but Meleika Gardner brought a whole new life to this because she told the people in Springfield that our life didn't start as enslaved people. And that's a big deal. And it's going to bring hope, and it's going to bring a new life to the American people. And it's going to remind us of what James Brown said. Say it loud. Black and I'm proud.
They did not have a vote to pass before the stay-home order.
We did not. Even though we passed it out of committee, people told us, we're going to help you get it out, but we can't promise you that we'll pass it on the floor. But the very people that said that then they've emailed and said they're ready. But we still have to pass it because we're going to need 71 because we're going to be past the past the regular session, and then we get into the session where we need majority, supermajority to pass the bill. So previously, had they passed it when we tried to, we only needed 60. Now we need 71.